thread all of my circular knitting needles, and it doubles as a really fun piece of avant-garde jewelry. It's great. Hello, and welcome to episode 44 of the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast. My name is Taylor, and I will be your host. This is a podcast primarily about knitting, though I do get up to other fiber-related topics from time to time. I am coming to you from Henderson, Nevada, which is a small suburb outside of Las Vegas, Nevada, in the Southwest United States. This is where I am from and where I live with my husband Brandon, our 2.5-year-old son Ronan, and our 6-year-old son Angus, as well as our big fat house cat Oscar. I am also the owner and dyer behind Fiber for the People yarn, which you can find over on Instagram at fiber.for.the.people, and it is also the namesake of this YouTube channel. If you'd like to learn more about Fiber for the People yarn, you can also head over to fiberforthepeople.com. That is the web shop and online everything for Fiber for the People. If you'd like to get in touch via email, you can contact me at contact@fiberforthepeople.com, and you can also send me messages on Ravelry, and you can find me as Taylor Earl. If you'd like to know more about Fiber for the People or be kept in the loop about Fiber for the People shop updates, definitely look down below in the description box. I've linked everything down there. You can sign up for the newsletter over on the website, but Fiber for the People on Instagram is really the best place to go to be in the know at the moment for all things Fiber for the People related. So definitely don't forget to head over there. The next shop update is going to be Saturday, February 13th at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And like I said, all links down below in the description box. Welcome to episode 44 of the podcast. It is so nice to have you here. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to chat with me. If you are a new subscriber or viewer, welcome. And if you are a returning subscriber or viewer, welcome back. It is just always so lovely to take this time out and share with you guys all the things I've been up to. I have lots to share with you guys today, including what I plan on doing with this ridiculous circular knitting needle stash I have behind me. But before we get into that, let's get up to date with the Wool Needles Hands Year of Knits Make-Along 2021. We have a Ravelry group associated with the podcast. You can find that by heading over to Ravelry, going up to the groups tab and searching Wool Needles Hands or Wool Needles Hands, a knitting podcast. You can find all of the threads that we've got going on around the podcast over there. And you can also join the knit along that we have going on, or I should say make along that we have going on, called the Wool Needles Hands Year of Makes 2021. You can learn all about what that is over there on Ravelry, but essentially we're just making things all throughout the year fiber related. Whatever your craft is, you can submit it for the make-along. Whips are totally fine. Double dipping in other knit-alongs, make-alongs, what have you is completely fine. It's just something that we're doing together, creating a community and camaraderie over there on the podcast Ravelry group. So definitely check it out. In the meantime, I want to showcase some of the whips and finished objects that we have going on over there in that thread right now. Definitely don't forget to submit your photos and your conversation, all of that in the chatter thread, and then your finished objects in the finished object thread so that I have some things to share here on the podcast every 2 weeks. So without further ado, here's a look at some of the things going on in the Wool Needles Hands Year of Knits Make-Along 2021. Lots of really cool things going on over there, you guys. People are getting things done that they've had on the needles for a little while. People are taking advantage of the unique categories that we've got going on over there. If you have things on the needles that you would like to submit for this make along, head over there and do it because we'd love to have you get involved. And it gives me more opportunities to share your work right here on the podcast. Welcome to the Slippers and Sippers segment. This is a Slippers and Sippers. This is a brand new segment. This is only the second segment in this new series we have going on. And I'm loving it so far because you guys, I have a pair of knit slippers that I whipped up last week, and I'm really excited to share them with you guys. But first, before I do that, I want to share this new tumbler that I just received. This is a handmade ceramic tumbler that I purchased on Etsy after seeing some of this particular maker's work on Instagram. I immediately was drawn to the black speckles because it's just so like right up my alley. If you know anything about me, you know how much I love a good black speckle. I feel like I say that a lot, but this mug has them and it's so cool. It's not, and I say mug, it's not a mug, it's a tumbler. It's actually meant for just like beverages and also wine. It's to be used as like a wine glass. And I think that that's really cool and really unique. And so I really love this. This is by Katie Mudd Ceramics. I did in the last voiceover vlog, which is a new series here on the channel, and you can check them out after you watch the episode. But I did a little unboxing of this, and it was such a magical moment, opening the box and going through all the cute little inserts that she included in her package, and then finally seeing the finished product. I was very excited about this. So this is, like I mentioned, Katie Mudd Ceramics, and you can see the whole unboxing and all of that over on the vlog episode. But here's the business card. Let's see if it, yeah. And I'll put links down below in the description box if you want to check her out. Her shop is pretty sparse right now. She has shop updates and I think she sells out pretty quickly, but you can head over and see some of the things she has. I actually think she might have a couple more of these in stock. Again, it's Etsy, Katie Mudd Ceramics. And yeah, I'm really excited about that. I think it just looks really cool. It's got the black speckles. I'm loving this whole speckled pottery like thing that's going on right now. You see it all over the place. It's super on trend right now, but it's really beautiful. I think it kind of captures the imagination similar to how speckles on yarn capture our attention. And so I don't know, I'm totally into it. So that is my Katie Mudd Designs new, I think she calls it the Interstellar or something tumbler, and I love it. Okay, I want to move on to the slippers portion of this segment because I have slippers to share with you. And these slippers, I actually kind of share a little bit of them in not the most recent vlog episode, but the one before that, where I'm finishing them off and creating the little pom-pom for them. So, okay, so here they are. Actually, let's show you. I don't want to like stick my foot up, but whatever, we'll do it. So here are my Simple House slippers by Temple of Knit. I'm actually just going to take it off so it's a little easier for me to show you, but you guys, they're adorable. I've worn them a lot and they're holding up really well. So here we go. So we've got the Simple House slippers by Temple of Knit with a cute little contrasting pom-pom right over here. These slippers knit up so quickly. Now, many of you may know or have seen these slippers, or they go way back in your family. You had a mother or grandmother or whatever that would knit these for everybody in the family. I keep hearing that, and I think that is so cool. So it's kind of just one of those tried and true knitting patterns that have been handed down generation to generation, because it's just a real classic design. It's garter stitch, and then you take this little garter stitch piece and you curl it over, and then you connect to knit in around just this like tube. And so you're not doing any purling. It's the fastest thing ever, and a really intuitive design. And it doesn't, I mean, I don't even know if that's the proper word to describe this, because it doesn't need to be intuitive because it's just very simple. So Simple House slippers, this particular pattern is by Temple of Knit, and you can find it on Ravelry. I can't remember, it was in my library, and I can't remember if it's a free pattern or not, but it is a great pattern, and I already have plans on knitting a bunch of these and stockpiling them for Christmas. My boys have even like kind of eyed them as if they would be interested in having a pair of their own, and my husband actually requested a pair, and he requested it specifically in one of my colorways. So this is the yarn that he requested his slippers to be knit out of, and this is called Seagull, and it is on a new 100% superwash merino DK. This yarn is very special. It's considering it's superwash, which is good when you're, you know, gonna have something like a slipper or something that you want to be able to wash and not worry too much about. But considering that, it's very nice and rustic and grabby, but also very next to skin. So I'm really excited about this new yarn base, but the colorway I feel is gonna look so good knit up into a pair of simple house slippers. So he is really excited to have a pair of these. I don't think I'm gonna be doing a pom-pom. I don't think he would be talked into that, which is fine, but you know, what can you do? So I put these pom-poms on here, number one, because they're adorable, but number two, I think they serve, as Caleb of Drowning in Yarn said so well, is that it is form, or what did he say? Form and function, or something in form and function. I don't know, something he said. It's something that you hear a lot, but it was, you know, it looks nice and it's also serving a purpose. And you can tell I didn't even I still have the little tie from where I attached my pom-pom. But the reason why I put these here, in addition to the fact that they're adorable, is because when you join this for knitting in the round, there's a little bit of I don't know if you'll be able to see very well here, but there's a little area right here where that join happens that needs a little bit of reinforcement. Now, you don't have to do that with a pom-pom. Like when I knit, you know, my husband's, Brandon's slippers, I could just do it with something else. You could get really creative with just like wrapping yarn around it a bunch of times and creating like a cool little like rib almost. But you definitely need to do something. The pattern actually has two methods for going from garter to connecting to knit in the round. There's two methods for doing that, and she says that one method is the easy way and the other one is the way that's going to give you the most stability in that bind or in that join right there. And I chose the more stable version, but I feel like regardless, it needs something. And again, like I mentioned in the vlog episode, it could be due to my yarn choice because this is an MCN DK. It is very soft and tends to be a little bit slippery. So maybe that's why it's just not, you know, holding as tightly. But who knows? I just think definitely if you're going to knit a pair of these, just be ready to come up with some kind of, you know, strategy for that situation. Otherwise, when you wear it, it's going to kind of open a little bit over the instep of your foot. So I don't know, just from my experience. But I am very happy with these. And they're wearing very well. I'll let you see the bottom of them. So here is the heel of these to kind of show you. And again, I have been wearing these like nonstop since I knit them a week ago. So that's where they're at right now in the front, the toe. A little fluffy on the toe, but yeah, otherwise they're holding up really well. Oh, and maybe I should mention the yarn. This is a new colorway that came from the Values Yarn Club. It's called Azure, and it's just a really beautiful ocean looking, that's a terrible way to describe something, just very aquatic. It's blue and green and black and gorgeous. What can I say? And then the pom-poms are in a contrasting colorway, the rattan colorway. And you guys, I'm telling you, like these two colors together, this beautiful, rich, caramely brown, and then this fun blue-green situation happening here is like screaming color work. I'm not even joking. Like that needs to happen. It's beautiful. So somebody, if it's not me, it's gotta be one of you, because that would be gorgeous. So simple house slippers, first pair of hand knit slippers for the podcast's Sippers and Slippers segment, or Slippers and Sippers, whatever you want to say. It's completely up to you. I love them, and they're easy to wear, and I'm proud of myself for having something hand knit to share with you in terms of slippers. Okay, let's get right into the projects. I kind of talked your ear off there in my Slippers and Sippers segment, but I have some works in progress to share with you guys. No finished objects this time around, but definitely works in progress. I actually have had 2 new cast-ons since the last podcast episode. I share a couple of those cast-ons in the vlogs between episodes, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about them here. And in future episodes, I'm going to come back and revisit some of the projects from last episode that I'm still working on. So if you watched the last episode of the podcast, I talked about my no frills. Well, I'm just kind of stuck on Sleeve Island with that right now, so I'm just going to keep working on it. Hopefully episode 45 in 2 weeks, I'll have a lot more to share with you on that. But in the meantime, I want to share with you some new cast-ons that I have. Okay, this one right here is one that I saw on Instagram on Curious Handmade, which is Helen Stewart, her Instagram page. She was promoting this particular design. It is called the Habitation Throw, and it's just a really simple fingering weight throw, and it is so addicting. I can't even tell you. I casted onto this a little less than a week ago, and I've put it down because I have one other thing I've been working on as well, but I just love working on this. It's mindless and beautiful and soft, and it's fun to work with the colors, which I'll talk about in just a second. So this is the Habitation Throw by Helen Stewart. This is all I have of it right now. I'm on my 3rd color, and it's just meant to be used like Advent minis or mini skeins or scraps. It's just an eyelet, stripey situation happening. It has an I-cord edging that it's just naturally built into the pattern with some slip stitches in the beginning of each row. So easy, so simple. You can memorize this like nobody's business. And when it comes to changing colors, in the design, she gives some suggestions for how often to do that. But because I'm using, and I'm excited to show this to you, because I'm using just like all different sizes of yarns and all different quantities of yarns, I don't really have like that easy roadmap for when to stop using a particular color, because I have minis and I have full cakes and I have partial cakes. It's just, it's a hodgepodge of yarn quantities. But because of that, I'm just kind of going by proportion. So as I've been working on, and I've only worked 3 colors, but like when I was doing this section here, I actually, in order to figure out where to stop for this first section, I looked at the photo of the sample to see how many of these little eyelet rows were completed in that little color block. And so that's how I came up with this. But then these ones up here, it starts to change a little bit. And because I'm using, for example, this golden olive color, I'm kind of using a full skein or a full cake of yarn. I'm just going to go until I feel like it's a good time to change. And then I might do thick and thin. It's whatever. I'm just going to let it go because I've got so many scraps to get through. And if I want the throw to be larger when I get to the midpoint, I'll just keep going and then I'll narrow it down accordingly. You guys, it's like the granny stripe crochet blanket. It's just do it as you please and then, finish it up when you're ready. So that's kind of my choose your own adventure take on this particular project. And I'm really happy to have it on my needles. It's kind of filling that granny stripe void for me. I started a granny stripe a while ago, and I ripped it all out, and I had intentions of going back and doing it again. And it was fun to like get going on it, and it really taught me a lot about crochet, and I loved that. But I feel like this is just so much more my speed, because the combination of a size 6 needle and fingering weight yarn, and to all of you shawl knitters out there, you understand this magic that I speak of. It's just so relaxing and soothing, and I love this. If you need a really kind of like comfort knit, something to just be cozy, easy, this is the one. And proof of that is last night we just started watching on Netflix. There's this new show called Lupin, and it's French. So it's you can get it dubbed over in English if you want, but I'm really not into that. I like to listen to the words coming out of the actors' mouths. But we have English subtitles. And I've been able to keep completely up to date with that. We're 2 episodes in, and I'm totally on it. involved in the subtitles. I know what's going on, and I was knitting this at the same time. That's like how simple this is. Now, granted, there are a couple of sections where the eyelets come a little late because I just kept knitting away. But like, honestly, you tell me where that happens. You can't, because number one, it doesn't matter. And number two, you can't tell. So love this. If you need something cozy and you need something easy, get yourself a bunch of your scraps or your minis because you have them, and get going on a Habitation throw because you will not be sorry. So this is Helen Stewart, the Habitation throw. Amazing. I can't recommend it enough. Like, just holding it in my hands, all I want to do is just knit on it right now. Before I set it down, I don't have it living in a project bag because I have this giant bag full of yarn. It's just been kind of sitting on the ottoman in front of my chair in my knitting corner. But I have my yarn in my little ceramic yarn bowl from Barantondo Ceramics on Etsy. I bought this about 3 years ago, and you probably, if you've watched the podcast for a while, you've seen this before, but isn't this just adorable? I talked briefly about it on the last vlog, episode 2, but you guys, he's just so adorable and the perfect amount of whimsy, and it's a great place to just plop my little yarn cake in there every time I get a new one going and work on my Habitation throw. This is more cozy than you can probably handle. Like, look out, cozy alert. Okay, set that off to the side. Loving this. Go download it right now. I'll wait. Okay, my next work in progress is a new cast on. I have developed a very strong, like, love affair with Melody Hoffman of Mandarins. So you may notice by watching the vlogs that I've been putting up on the channel that I am very much inspired by her. She has such an adorable aesthetic. She lives in France, via Latvia, and she has such a fun, relaxing, soothing vlogs to watch. She's a knitwear designer. Her designs are beautiful. She seems like such a beautiful person, like inside and out. And so I love her. Okay, now that gushing is over, if you don't know who Melody Hoffman is or Mandarins on YouTube or Instagram, you need to go right now and then come back, but go and find her because she's amazing. But anyway, she has a new design that recently came out called the Tulip jumper. She has an adult version and a baby version, and I think she's going to be coming out with a toddler version, like lots of different versions of this. And then she has a pair of tulip socks, and it has this adorable scalloped edge at the bottom hem and then at the cuff of the sock. You guys, it's fantastic. So anyway, I casted onto one of those after so I have a sweater that I'm going to be frogging. I'm not even going to show you because it's just not worth it. I'm so over it. And that's one of the reasons why I cast it onto this. Maybe I'll show you later, but in an episode, down the road, if I don't frog it like right away. But I decided I wanted to cast onto something a little heavier because that, sweater in question is a fingering weight sweater. And like, I'm not ready for that right now. This is a worsted weight jumper. And this doesn't look like much. It's barely a yoke, but it's all I've got to show you. So it is the Tulip. I don't even really know how best to show you because the needles just aren't quite long enough in the cord department to not risk losing my stitches, we're going to talk about that later. But anyway, I'm just going to show you the fabric for now and talk a little bit about the yarn. So this is going to be the Tulip jumper, and I am knitting this in a really pretty Norwegian wool yarn paired with Fiber for the People in Kid Mohair Silk. So because you can't really make much of this at the moment, it's just, a basic top-down raglan at the moment, let's talk a little bit more about my yarn choice because that's really exciting to me. So one thing about Melody Hoffman and much of her work is that she likes to focus on rustic, Lopi style, unspun yarns, things that are, I think rustic is the best way to describe that. Her designs are very inspired by nature, and so she likes to use those kinds of yarns in her designs, and I think that's great. And so I wanted my sweater to have that rustic feel, and so I initially thought that I was going to go with something like my Blueface Luster DK weight by Fiber for the People, or even like my organic merino worsted, something that had a little bit more of a bite to it. But then in my stash, happened to be walking through my office, and I noticed in my stash all of the cakes of this particular yarn that I have already caked up, ready to go, that needed a project. And I felt like this is the perfect one for that. So this is, now I am not 100% sure how to pronounce this, so I apologize if I butcher this. But this is by Hillesvåg, and it's Pesselgarn. And it's, I think the yarn, Pesselgarn is like the yarn, and then maybe the variety is Tinda. But it is a DK weight Norwegian wool yarn. And the yarn naturally has a little bit of a grayish brown color to it, the wool, I should say. And so when it's dyed over, you can see that it has a really beautiful kind of shadowiness to that purple. It's so gorgeous. I love it. And just getting it up close there to the camera, you can kind of see by looking at it how like rustic it is. It's very, very wiry. It's a 2-ply construction and has a really pretty natural halo. I really love this, and the more I work with this, the more I love this. I'm pairing this with a skein of Kid Mohair Silk by Fiber for the People, and this is in an experimental colorway. From a distance, it looks like I'm holding up something that's kind of like a chalky brown color. That's probably not the most flattering description, but it's really beautiful. But when you get close to it, and as it pairs with this, there's a rosiness to this color that is really special, in my opinion. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it there? That beautiful rosiness coming through. I had this. I saw the design by Melody Hoffman. I then saw this in my stash, and I just felt like this was all meant to happen. This is meant to go together. And so I decided to pair the two. And this is what we have. So the two together look like this. How pretty, you guys. I mean, shut the door. Is it shut the door? Shut the front door. Whatever. So pretty. So I'm really excited. Here's another look at that fabric. Now, the only thing I will say about this so far, and I'm prefacing that like this is a problem. This is not an issue. I actually really am happy about how this is working out. And you know, I'm wondering, yeah, okay. So I have this little swatch that I created. Okay, so when I knew that these were the yarns that I wanted to use, I had to make sure that they were going to, you know, get gauge-ish so that I could knit the sweater. Now, I didn't knit an entire gauge swatch, but I knit something prior to starting because I wasn't 100% sure, because the yarn that Melody's using, I believe she's using Nutiden, which is an unspun, a Swedish yarn, but it's yarn, but it's not spun. So it's hard to tell, like when you see that it's worsted weight, she's like pairing a few of those strands together to get her gauge. And so I just knew, okay, I'm going to knit a little swatch in the recommended needle size. I'm going to see what gauge I get with that. And then instead of changing my needle size, because I kind of liked the fabric I created with this, I was just going to size up or size down the sweater that I knit. And that's kind of my strategy for my like gauge swatching, is I very rarely will change needle size because I don't want to, I don't want the fabric to be too dense or to be too open in certain situations. So what I'll do is I'll just knit my gauge swatch, or whatever, this little situation, whatever you want to call it, in the round or flat, depending on what the pattern recommends. And then based on what I'm getting there, I just decide, okay, I'm getting more stitches to the inch, so I'm going to knit the bigger size, or vice versa. So I just will determine how I'm going to knit, or what size I'm going to knit, based on how my stitches are working up gauge-wise in my little swatch. And sometimes, because this is a top-down raglan construction, you can kind of make those determinations as you go. And because you're not changing needle size, you don't have to worry about the fabric changing because of that. So you just kind of figure, okay, well, I'm noticing that I'm getting, you know, this gauge, so I'm going to make more increases or make fewer increases. I think you probably can get what I'm saying. So that's kind of how a lot of times I'll gauge I'll gauge my work is just by using the sizing in the sweater. Now, if you want to be really meticulous in the fit, or you're doing something that's pieced together, I mean, there's instances where that maybe isn't the best way to do it. But for me and the patterns that I tend to gravitate towards, that seems to work out for me. Everybody has their way of determining their gauge, and really everybody can just do whatever they want, in my opinion. So this is the fabric or the little swatch that I started with to give me an idea of whether or not this was going to work. Now, it is more open. You can see the light coming through. It's much more open than the fabric in the sample that Melody knits. And at first, that took me aback a little bit, because I didn't want the fabric to be too loosey-goosey and then to not have the sweater be what I want it to be. But then I thought, these like really dense woolly sweaters that you see people wearing in really cold climates, or in situations like that, just don't work in my climate. I can wear wool and I can wear hand knit items here in the wintertime and even in the fall and spring, but it really has to be kind of something that does allow some air circulation, because it's dry here. It's not that cold. So having something that's really dense and woolly is just not suitable for this climate. And so I felt like maybe the more open, fabric construction works for me here. So I sized down my sweater, because that was what I was going to need to do because of the gauge that I'm getting here. And I just figured I'm going to go with it. It's a little bit more open. I might need to wear something underneath it, both because of the openness of the fabric, but also too because of the kind of the hand of the yarn. It's maybe a little less next to skin than, some other things I've knit. But I'm totally okay with all of that, because I'm really excited about the sweater. And I think the combination of yarn choices that I have here, plus the fabric, is going to make for a really pretty tulip jumper. So that's everything I have to say about that. I feel like that was a mouthful. But if you have any interest in knitting this design, those are some things that you might consider, unless of course you manage to get your hands on Nutiden yarn and you knit this way. Maybe that's not what maybe she used Lopi. It's something like that. But that's kind of where my mind is when it comes to finding the yarn for this particular project, or having found the yarn for this particular project. Those are some things that ran through my mind. So love it. Love the color. Love the Norwegian wool yarn, and getting to use this finally. It's been burning a hole in my stash for a while, so this is the perfect opportunity to bust it, I guess you could say. Okay, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about my circular needle storage system failure. I only use circular needles because that's just my go-to. I tend to only use the 40-inch cords for Magic Loop. However, lately I've been inspired to try using those little 9-inch circular situations. Thank you, Melody Hoffman, once again, for your adorable little videos of you knitting socks on these tiny little circular knitting needles, but story for another time. But I need to figure out the situation happening behind me, because this is a nightmare. So several episodes ago, or might not have even been several, but a while ago, I shared with you guys my circular needle storage system, and it is embarrassing. But I'm going to share it with you once again, because we're going to do a little proper kind of unboxing of something new that I just received in the mail. So this, behold, my microphone's right here, so I'm going to try and get this up here so you can see exactly what's happening right here. This is my old circular knitting needle storage system. What is that, you ask? Great question. This is a toilet paper roll holder, and this pink is duct tape. Yep. Go ahead. I know. And I'm using this as a way to just thread all of my circular knitting needles, and it doubles as a really fun piece of avant-garde jewelry. It's great. But this can't work. This can't be a knitter of my experience level. I'm in the yarn business, for crying out loud. Like, this can't be my knitting needle situation. And so I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Honestly, I think this is going to continue to hold all of these needles, and it's very clear to see from the cords which are my favorites. Like, I'm a huge ChiaGoo user. But anyway, I had to come up with an alternative. Now, my dearest, bestest friend in California, who may be watching this, Lauren, you are my enabler. She just recently purchased a brand new set of ChiaGoo interchangeable knitting needles. For the longest time, I have been against interchangeables because I only use the 40-inch cords. But what has happened to me is that I'll have need for some needle size, and that needle will be, occupied with another project. And so I'll go on Amazon and purchase another of that same size, and Amazon reminds you at the top of the screen, you purchased this back in 2017, or you purchased 2 of these on blah, blah, blah. It's like Amazon is telling me, like, buy yourself some interchangeable needles. Here's a link. Like, they may as well, because that's pretty much what's been going on. So I have over here, several ChiaGoo knitting needles that were purchased because I needed a needle that was already being used. Now, that's why we buy interchangeable needle sets, because then you have these cords that can hold your project, and you can unscrew the little needle tips and then go and use them someplace else. I guess the thing you're going to need to have more of are the cords, but that's not quite as expensive as buying a whole set of knitting needles. So, without further ado, and obviously needless to say, I purchased a set of ChiaGoo interchangeables. This, I haven't even taken it out of the little bag that it came in from Amazon. Okay, so what I figured we could do right now is I could do a little unbagging of this, open it up, see what it looks like, and then later, after I've had a chance to use a set of these or a pair of these, do a little proper review of what I think. When it comes to interchangeables, my beef typically lies with the join where the needle tip connects to the cord. Sometimes it gets snaggy, and that can really drive me crazy. So that's going to be on my radar when I use these for the first time. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these out. We're going to see what things look like. I also purchased a 50-inch interchangeable cable, because sometimes when you're knitting like something that's top down, it's nice to have an extra long cable so you can try it on instead of trying to thread another needle into half of the stitches and you have like 2 knitting needles hanging out. It's just a big hot mess. This, I believe, comes with included 5 inches. It's going to have, this is just like a whole matrix of what is in here. Let's just open this. It actually is really nice, a lot nicer than I was expecting. Nice and durable, feels good in the hands. Oh, hello. Open it up and see what's inside. Okay, so the cables are all in their own little packages. And then a really nice laminated chart that tells you what you have. And then look at this. And I think this goes without saying, you guys, I am not sponsored by ChiaGoo. I just really love them. That's why I chose this particular set. And I will tell you honestly how I feel about them after I've used them, so you can count on that. So I have in here US 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 and a half, 11, 13, and 15. It's funny. People they skip the 13th floor in hotels, but yet we skipped the 12th needle size in knitting needles. Who cares, Taylor? Nobody cares. So these are called the twist, which I'm assuming means that you twist them on. Oh, hello, you guys. In the little front zipper part, you get a little knitting needle gauge number there. And then you also get, how cute, little stitch markers. And then this is the kind of like your stitch keepers to hold everything on your needles when you're not using, or on your cords when you're not using the needle tips. And then it has those little pins that you can use to help twist your cables onto your needles. So let's go ahead and give it a shot and see how easily you can get the needle tips onto the cord. So just like any interchangeable set. Okay, so the larger needles, I think, need a join, a special join, because they don't fit the cables. Guys, we're learning here together. Ah, you know why? Okay, so the really large ChiaGoo needle tips, so that's what this one is here. This is a size, what size is this? I'm a 19. I think these require a different cable. So that cable is here. Okay, so this is the 5-inch tip set cables, large, yes. Okay, so the large needle tips require the large cable set, and I have that here. So yeah, these, easy peasy, you guys, and it's on. And the join seems very snag free. I'm happy about that. I don't think that's gonna be an issue, really. I get a little bit of a grabbiness right there, but that's, I mean, I guess that's gonna happen. But really, ultimately, I don't think that's gonna be an issue. But time will tell. We shall see. Okay, so I mean, yeah, it's working the way it's supposed to. I will do a proper review of these. I plan on transferring my Tulip pullover onto a set of these because that cord is just too short and I know that I'm gonna be losing. I'm gonna have kamikaze stitches all over the place. So that is, yeah, that's good. So they have larger cords for the heavier needles or the larger needles, and then the thinner, smaller cords for your smaller needles. Okay, everything's in there. That is my new ChiaGoo interchangeable knitting needle set. I will keep you guys posted on how I like these, how they work for me. I will know right away because I'm going to be slipping all of those stitches from the Tulip jumper onto those needles. And that's, you know, that's a more rustic yarn. So I mean, if any yarn is gonna grab something rustic paired with a mohair, I mean, I feel like that's gonna be grabby. So we'll see, but I'm pretty confident that those are gonna work out for me. Okay, so that's all I have to share with you guys for the and now this segment. I'm glad that we cleared that up. I'm glad that I, you know, aired out my dirty laundry in terms of my situation over here. And I'm happy to be able to show you guys and do kind of a little unboxing of the ChiaGoo Interchangeables. And like I said, I will keep you posted. Alright, you guys, that is all I have time for today. Thank you so much for taking the time and spending that time here with me and chatting about all of these things. If at any point during this video you are enjoying yourself, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and please subscribe. Click the bell icon so you can be notified anytime I upload new content on the channel. There is a new video coming out every Wednesday and every other Sunday, and occasionally videos in between that. So keep posted here at the Fiber for the People Presents YouTube channel. Until next time, happy knitting, happy whatever it is that you're doing. Stay safe, take care, be well, and I will see you soon. Bye! I gotta do something about this. My eyelashes are leaving smudges on my spectacles. Being bespectacled. Okay, lipstick, how is that going? Which I've actually been